I'd like you to think about who you know or have known in your life that has some kind of disability, whether it's learning, physical, or a mental disability. Even if you don't know anyone personally, wouldn't you still like to see all children succeed, reach their potential, be accepted, and feel included? I'd like you to introduce you to a very special and close family friend, CJ. CJ was born with Down syndrome. From the time CJ was in kindergarten, he was placed in the special education inclusion program, where he excelled both academically and socially, and was well on his way to reaching his potential. Unfortunately, CJ passed away in his 5th grade year. But right before he died, the school reevaluated CJ, and they discovered that his social skills were so high that he almost no longer qualified for special ed services. I have the opportunity to work at a middle school as a paraprofessional with many special kids just like CJ. I believe that with a special education inclusion program, children with disabilities are appropriately placed and given the opportunities to learn in a general classroom alongside their non-disabled peers. They will benefit both academically and socially. So what is inclusion? Inclusion is the idea that children are educated regardless of a disability in general education classes with the support and guidance of special education teachers, putting these children in their least restrictive environment, which is allowing students with disabilities to learn while being educated in a classroom that is close to normal as possible. There are 2 federal laws that govern education of children with disabilities and require that a significant effort be made to find an inclusive placement. These laws are stated in the IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The IDEA states that there are important areas that need to be met, including methods of identifying students with learning disabilities, early intervening services, highly qualified teachers, and meeting accessibility standards. The purpose of these requirements is to carry out the intent of the IDEA, which is to educate as many students with disabilities as possible in the regular education classroom while still meeting their unique individual needs. This can be done in several ways. The first steps towards inclusion is identifying students with learning disabilities. Teachers are required to use a variety of data gathering tools and strategies to measure a student's learning abilities, and then create an IEP, which is an individualized educational plan with goals specific for each student. Second is to provide students who require academic support to succeed in general education classes. Having highly qualified teachers, paraprofessionals, access to appropriate instructional materials, and other resources are necessary for the required academic help. Third, schools should provide a Best Buddies program, which is a club that will pair students with and without disabilities to help create friendships through offering social activities and to help students with their early educational development. Finally, schools should provide community ed sports programs, which offer team sports for students with disabilities to allow them the opportunity to compete and not be excluded from school sporting events. Now, there are some out there who are opposed to special education inclusion programs and feel that special needs children would be a distraction for their non-disabled peers and create a disruption for their learning environment. This can be true for some students with disabilities and who may not be able to be placed in an inclusion program. That is why students need to be appropriately placed based on their IEP, which would then allow for the opportunity for students with and without disabilities to learn from each other. As stated in the book, Special Education in Contemporary Society, placement in a general education classroom with a working partnership between special education teachers and general educators would result in a better education for all pupils, not just those with special needs, and would occur within the context of the least restrictive environment. If students in special educations were put in regular education classes with the rest of the children their age, they would feel a greater sense of normalcy. In special education, the principle of normalization is making students with disabilities feel like everyone else and make them believe that they can do anything they put their minds to. Special education professional Gretchen Walsh at Notre Dame University says, "Inclusion is important because through our diversity, we certainly add to our creativity. If you don't have a diverse classroom or a diverse world, you don't have the same creative levels, and I think our strength lies in our diversity." According to kidstogether.org, there are many benefits for inclusion. Some of those benefits for students with disabilities include increased friendships, peer role models for academic, social, and behavior skills, increased achievement of IEP goals, access to general curriculum, and better opportunities for interactions. The benefits for students without disabilities are more meaningful friendships, increased appreciation and acceptance of individual differences, respect for all people, prepare students for an adult life in an inclusive society, and greater academic outcomes. I have seen firsthand the compassion and increased acceptance that has come from inclusion programs. Teachers and students go out of their way to say hi, give hugs, or high fives when they see one of my students in the hallway. And shouldn't all children be accepted and feel included, like my students do? As family members, friends, or members of a community, there are several ways that you can get involved and help these students feel included in your area. Look into your local school's current special ed programs and see what resources are available or what might still be needed. Volunteer at your local schools and specifically in the special ed classrooms. Find out if your schools offer a Best Buddies Club. If so, join and help organize activities. If they don't, then start a club charter and get other members of the community to help. Look into community ed sports programs and help with coaching or organizing sporting events. Remember, you don't have to be a school employee to get involved. Now I'm going to ask you again to think about someone in your own life with a disability. And again, wouldn't you like to see them succeed, reach their potential, feel accepted, and be included? Dr. Seuss said, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not."